Now, if you've already checked out the secret history of Twin Peaks and were somewhat underwhelmed, then I would suggest you get a copy of The Secret Teachings of All Ages, which I have a copy of here. This is one of my favorite esoteric books. Now, it won't explicitly spell out any of life's mysteries either, but it's kind of a compendium of many different disciplines. There's the Freemasons are in here. There's the Eleusinian mysteries. There's something on the Zodiac. There's Hermeticism. There's all kinds of stuff in here. So it's best to go back and experience Twin Peaks for yourself, I would say. But if you're mildly interested in any esotericism, or at least somewhere to get started, this book is a kind of a great sampling. You don't have to. It's a very thick book, and it's the type of thing where you can just kind of flip around. There's a section here on alchemy, and so you don't really have to read it all the way through. You can just find areas that interest you and get to it. So just wanted to make that book recommendation. Now, in case you find yourself skeptical about the deeply esoteric lineage of Twin Peaks in the first place, in an interview, Mark Frost was asked the following, quote, "It seems to me that mystery and secrets are two of the major themes in both the Twin Peaks TV series and your novel. What do you think?" End quote. And to this question, Mark Frost replies, quote, "I would agree with that. I would say that the idea of mystery is something that is profoundly inherent in all of reality. It's a Joseph Campbell mystery as opposed to a murder mystery. It's a sense that there's something going on just beneath the surface of what we can perceive. It's really what people talk about, I guess, when they're talking about a spiritual sense of reality. That there's something evanescent and hard to grasp and very often seems just beyond our reach. But there are times in our lives when we can catch glimpses of it." End quote. So I think that sums it up right there for me. Now, not to beat up on the guy, but I really wish Frost would have adopted this same attitude regarding the open-ended question of who killed Laura Palmer instead of bowing to pressure from network execs. So in terms of ultimate answers or definitive interpretations, this really has to be left up to you. Not only do I agree with the Lynchian view on art, it's not really the Lynchian view, it's just art, but the reality is that levels of understanding and interpretation will vary wildly between individuals viewing this video series. It's impossible to objectively quantify all that is Twin Peaks at the end of the day, because when we demand an objective and definitive explanation or a view on art, just as in life, we've already lost the plot. In the case of Twin Peaks especially, Lynch set out to create a world complete with its own deep mystery, beauty, and absurdity similar to our own. So as we return to Twin Peaks through the lens of esoteric philosophy, don't forget this. Please also keep in mind that the fundamental occulted forces of nature are constantly being poked and prodded in the world of Twin Peaks. If there is far more going on than meets the eye, then it is my assertion that much of what is going on with the story relates directly to the sacred Kabbalah or relationship between this earthly realm and that which gives rise to it. Both mirror aspects of each other in some way which remains incomprehensible to the human mind. as above, so below, being, of course, the most concise summation of this eternal notion. And we can't forget about one of the most important elements of Twin Peaks, which is the music. Now, don't get carried away here. Angelo Badalamenti didn't have any help from David Bowie when composing the theme for Twin Peaks, but they did work on a project together at one time. Badalamenti's talent and Lynch's intuition came together almost seamlessly, as described by the composer himself. Right from the opening credits, the score immediately brings you into a transcendental or trance-like state, holding you there for the entire duration of the episode. The opening theme of Twin Peaks achieves an almost immediate initiation into the mysteries of life. We can hear and we can see almost immediately that things are indeed not what they seem to be. Now, Dale Cooper is first introduced in Twin Peaks while driving into town. He's talking into a tape recorder for his assistant, Diane. Mark Frost once referred to Dale Cooper's character as a walking cerebellum. He mentions some very precise details in this first scene, including the mileage on the car, what he had for lunch, how much it cost, and exactly what he ate. Every last detail: tuna fish on whole wheat, slice of cherry pie, and a coffee. He also mentions never seeing so many trees before, and at the end of this scene, he remarks about needing to find out more about the trees themselves. This first scene with Cooper is subtly communicating the importance of paying attention to the details, but it also emphasizes the importance of the beginner's mind. An intellectual curiosity combined with that childlike sense of wonder. It's these seemingly minute and curious details which tirelessly carry the theme of Twin Peaks through the show, right down to the arrangement of the donuts at the sheriff's office. However, in the case of the quirky donut arrangement, we aren't looking at some sort of master key to the ancient wisdom of Stonehenge, unmasking the ultimate meaning of life. In fact, much of these goofy set pieces add to the lifelike nature of the characters rather than having much significance in and of themselves. Although I would love to see someone break down a Stonehenge astrological alignment video with the donuts. That would be hilarious. It is mildly interesting that there are 52 donuts here. I'm going to take my shot at this astrological numerical interpretation. So there are 52 donuts here, which works out to be 4.333 repeating, if we were to say dozen donuts, 4.333 repeating dozen donuts, which seems like an odd proportion, but at the same time a very practical amount when taking the entire film crew into consideration. But who knows? Maybe the donuts are some sort of Rosetta Stone to some of the great mysteries of life. If only someone could come along and unlock this code. Now, there are a lot of offbeat signs and symbols in the show with varying degrees of significance, from simple fun with tchotchkes and bric-a-brac all the way to the most deeply profound. I would say many of these set pieces are part of the classic Lynchian dance of tragedy and hope, or of meaning and meaninglessness, which is to say, a precarious embrace between darkness and beauty, and are sort of part of this occulted prima materia nonetheless. Right from the very first episode, there are certain undercurrents which feel a little pantheistic, and I think that's probably to do more with the forest. And there's a seemingly perfect blend of dark mystery and offbeat comedy that Twin Peaks just is best remembered for. Now, since the exploration of humanity and the nature of existence are so deep and intensive in Lynch's work, it seems quite a natural, well-adjusted compensation to combine such seemingly disparate elements so closely. The comedic relief is not presented separately as respite, but rather is present throughout, which can be just like real life when viewed from a certain perspective.